How do you respond to the reality that our government has told us there are maybe 50 or 100 members of al-Qaeda left in Afghanistan? They run across the border to Pakistan. So the problem is they're hidden there. They are in Yemen, as the congressman alluded to. If they just run from wherever we are, what's the point in staying in Afghanistan? Aren't we using an old-fashioned paradigm to approach a newfangled problem because we're not fighting a nation state?
Well, actually, having troops massed on the border, not massed, but able to access quickly the border of Afghanistan and Waziristan is helpful, as are maintaining human intelligence networks on both sides of the borders, neither of which can occur without a troop presence in Afghanistan. I think it should be much smaller. I think the mission should be more clearly defined, but walking away from it does not solve the problem. Pretending it exists does not solve the problem.
I just disagree on that we have to have troops to have human intelligence. Again, and I mentioned Yemen. There's no.
How would you
I'm sorry,
propose to have
please
human
stop.
intelligence
Can I just ask what the rules are?
Can
I ask what the rules are about interruption?
Yeah, let's just try to talk.
Well, I'm trying to talk, but I just don't think interruption.
I want to stay on the point of security and military, and I just want to remind our listening audience, those just joining us, Congressman Barney Frank and Sean Bielat, we're hosting a debate here. All of it being sponsored by SBLI Savings Bank Life Insurance.
Brief point.
Let me show to a different
facet one 10-second point?
10 seconds.
We need human intelligence all over the world, and we can't have military all over the world. So the notion that you can't have human intelligence without the military is a very self-defeating argument.
Well, maybe the congressman isn't aware of the role played by the Defense Intelligence Agency as well as the various human collection capabilities in each of the services, but actually those are very relevant. And
Sean, we're talking about intelligence and national security. Let me point out a couple of things. Chavez is insane. Ahmadinejad is insane with nuclear weapons. The guy in North Korea has been insane for a number of years, and most worrisome, you have a militarily muscular China, which is becoming more and more aggressive, more and more provocative. Is that as the real-world context? I'm going to start with the congressman on this one. SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars. Does that fall into the category, Congressman, what you said, some of the money we're spending in Afghanistan can and should be put into security? Is SDI an appropriate element of security for our country?
No, I don't think so. I do favor very strong efforts to get both North Korea and Iran out of the nuclear business. In Iran, I've been working very closely with the leaders of the U.S. government, with the Israeli government. I've had serious consultations with them. There is a hope now that sanctions are beginning to bite. If sanctions don't work, I think we need to make very clear that deterrence works. I think the Iranian regime, the North Korean regime, both have to be told that if any nuclear weapons are used that came from them, and nuclear weapons have a fingerprint, you can find this out, that the result will be devastation for them. That because the problem is with a strategic defense initiative, the targets are multiple. It's very hard to get all over the world, and even with the technical problems there. So I do believe that the sanctions are having some impact on Iran, and that's what people in the American and Israeli governments, and I put a lot of confidence in what I hear from the Israeli government, think. But I think the ultimate point to both of them is that deterrence will be the work, that if either one of those countries either did a nuclear weapon or made nuclear weapons available to others, which is probably a likelier scenario, that our response would be devastation for those societies.
Sean Bielat, your view on SDI?
Geez, I don't know if I were sitting in Israel if I would be very comforted by the fact that if Jerusalem were bombed, that the U.S. would respond afterwards. We have an obligation to support our allies insofar as that supports the U.S. national interest. Allowing Iran to go nuclear and hope that the sanctions work and then allow them to go nuclear is a dangerous and bad option. We have a nation who denies Israel's right to exist, who believes that the Holocaust didn't occur. They are a known state sponsor of terror. They have been active against U.S. troops in both Afghanistan and Iraq, and we can't afford to allow them to go nuclear. North Korea has been nuclear for some time. They've been responsible for proliferation and proliferation attempts. Deterrence isn't sufficient. It has to be credible deterrence, and I don't think that North Korea or Iran truly believe that if they were to strike one of our allies that we would respond in a
So what's
fashion.
your policy?
I think we have to enforce sanctions, increase their severity, but also maintain a viable and visible military alternative.